Hello, everybody. I don't know how many people are out there. So far, my little eyeball that tells me how many of you are watching is not on. So I'm going to kind of sit here and talk. Basically, I'll outline here for those who watch later. Um, I'm at a point where I'm having to make some real decisions about how I use my time and what I do with it and where I go with it. And I've had this channel since December of 2020. It was December 11th on 2020 that I started it. And in the first show, I said, I want this to be a place where you can come into the garden and enjoy the enjoy all the skills and abilities I can show people. I showed people a lot about crystals. I've done shows on numbers. I've done shows on all kinds of things. Good to see you, Cardamancy Mesquite. I've done all these different things, and I'm working really hard, but I really want to feel like when I'm working with you, I'm being heard, and that when I'm working with you, you're learning something. And if I'm not teaching people stuff, and if it's not moving ahead, then I need to reconsider. That's what the uh, survey I did. I just kind of threw that together last night, but it came out that psychic profiles and learning about crystals were at the top. The most important thing people thought was to get the spiritual teachings that I'm teaching you. But I'm going to tell you, you all may feel that way, but I've been doing a lot more of that recently, and all of a sudden my numbers started dropping again. And maybe as I'm not beating you up to subscribe or get your next best friend to subscribe or whatever's going on. But my main concern at this point for me is the best use of my time. One of the other things that happened is I went out and did some live readings a weekend ago. I did it at an evening event in an art garden. This weekend, as a gift to Gretchen, I worked at Dolly Python's. I was there. If you get my notices, I was there Friday and Saturday. And then I read with Scott on Sunday. And everybody said, oh, we don't want to hear politics. We don't want to hear these controversial things. Please give us a nice, good, spiritual, soft, teaching us stuff. But two things don't happen. People don't join. Y'all don't spread those videos out to your friends so they don't go anywhere. And I have to figure out what is the best use of my time. And one of the things I'm seriously considering now is to go back out and be in the world again and to read at table. And for those of you who don't live in Dallas or Fort Worth, that's kind of a tough thing. What I'm seriously thinking about doing is having a Tuesday show that I'll make it whatever I want to. I'm still going to do my psychic profiles because I have commitments with a bunch of readers to do them out. And I have more readers who want to be part of psychic profiles. And quite honestly, I think psychic profiles teaches every person who's having a spiritual awakening kind of what they need to know. You're waking up, you're figuring, I'm changing, I'm learning. How do I make this work? And so anyway, that's kind of where I am. And somebody just put in the comments, I don't have any friends to refer or to share. That's maybe very true. And, I'm not going to not be here, but I'm going to, I have to seriously think about the other projects I work on other than shows. I used to try to do 2 or 3 shows a week. And unless I'm doing psychic profiles, I'm not doing that. And I'm not probably going to do that anymore. And Scott and I were having a discussion on Sunday on how much, that is his show of the week. And I don't mind doing politics then, but I always feel like after I finish that show. Although Scott's delightful and the audience is delightful, and we try to keep the material on the right strength, it puts me in places I don't really want to have to think about. So, what am I doing? One of the things I always get the best response when I have open mics and I throw it open for your questions. And that got the fewest, that's the thing people like the least, which I found kind of interesting. They want learning things. And so I'm going to polish up my old notebooks and bring out the things I did when I first started, starting with numbers and working our way up. Other projects I have going right now is I'm working on a crystal project right now, and I didn't think it was going to take as long as it's taking, but there's a member of our community. She's been with us a while. She's been with me, I think, almost since the beginning. And she wants me to do a complete clearing of the land that she's built a house on and figure out the best crystals to put in the various parts of the land. And what I'm basically going to build are bags of crystals with certain intent. And I've already got, there's going to be 5 of them. And I've got them mostly figured out. But it's been a fascinating project to work on, but it takes a lot of time. And now I got to go find her crystals, and I got to pack them up and get them to her. And but it's been a lot of fun, and I love doing crystal grids. So if you've ever thought about wanting a crystal grid, I'd move quickly, kids, because stones are going up. I can't believe how much the cost of stones have gone up, and it's because most stones are imported. And I want to, so if hers is like a giant, think of a giant crystal grid that's on a couple of acres of property. And I've been working with Tim Walter on it, on how to do the clearing and how to figure out what's on the land. She's got one part of her land that's near woods, and it has a lot more elemental energy, and I felt a lot of them, and I'm bringing things that will attract and they will feel safe within. There's absolutely nothing spooky in her house. Absolutely. It's all, how can I welcome in the good energy and how can I reinforce the good energy, which is often what grids are about. Then this is my own, hey, Nancy, go do this. We're going to do a grid for the world for 2026, a new one. We did the one 3 years ago that I built with Dr. Gale and Jeffrey helped me pick the stones. And then when we built it on New Year's Eve, we put this grid. This grid was fired up by Danny, Dr. Gale, Jeffrey, and I. We just had a private little New Year's Eve quickie party. And this grid has started to do things I've never seen a grid do before this year. The stone in the middle used to be a completely clear stone, and you can see it looks like somebody whacked it. And it's also cracking on the base, and I kept waiting for that to break off, but it's quit cracking, so maybe things are getting better. But anyway, this was the one that I did 3 years ago for Tim, with Tim. And I'm going to build a new one that I will keep here in my office too, and I will be sending that one to Tim in England and see how that works for him. And other than that, I'm gearing up for my 12-month readings. I've already had a couple people sign up for them. If you want to sign up for them, last year everybody waited till the end of December, and then they weren't getting read till February. And because I can only do so many of those kind of heavy duty readings in a day. So there's sort of a time constraint on that. That's me. And I'm going to see how that goes. And I think I am going to try to go out and read in the real world with real people. It was fascinating. You're right, Rose Blue. That poor little dark purple fluorite has had to absorb a lot of stuff. Um, the first reading I did at Dolly's, I was sitting there. It was on Friday, and I'd gotten all set up, and it got to be. I'd been there almost an hour, and no one had shown up for a reading, but not many people were showing up. It was kind of a weird day, and a woman comes around the corner, and she's a lovely lady, and I had read her for years when I was still at Dolly's. I had not seen her since COVID, and she said, "Oh, how delightful you're here!" And she talks like that. She's 86. She's just a hoot. And she said, "I came back to tell you what you told me was true, because in 2019, in November of 2019, I had told her that her son was going to be coming back to visit her." And she said, "Oh, no, 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 dear. He lives in China, and he didn't like living in America, and he tried living in Europe, and but he's moved to China. He's found his place in the world. He loves living there. He's not married or anything, but he loves the culture. He loves the people." And I kept saying to her, yeah, hit the like button. It helps with my algorithms. So I said, "Well, what happened?" And she said, "Well, the last week of January of 2020, he had to go to a business meeting in Russia. And right after he flew out of China started locking everything down. And apparently one of the cities that he worked in was one of the cities that was one of the first ones that got locked down in China. And so the Russians were told not to let him come back. So he was talking to the Russians, and he was sitting there, and he's going, "Well, what am I going to do? That's where I am." And they said, "You're going to get the hell out of Russia, because our predictions are the whole world's going to be shut down sometime in February." That meant he had 2 weeks kind of to figure out. So he wrote his mom and said, "I'm coming home." And I mean, he just arrived with a week's worth of packing that he had taken to Russia, because he was fully expecting to go back to his home in China. He went back 2.5 years ago. He went back to his home in China. Anyway, this all happened so early. The U.S. hadn't shut down yet. So she came to Dolly's to tell me, "Oh, you're right. My son's come home. He's here." And she walked in the store, and I pulled out of all readings in early February, because that's what my guides told me to do. And the people in the store said, "She's not reading. We don't know when she's coming back. She said she needs a vacation." And then the woman said, that's when it struck her, this is much more serious than even she was thinking it could be at that point. And she said, "And you were right. And I wanted to come and tell you." And I said, "Thank you." And so he talked about a couple other things. She has grown children that are not a comfort to her in her old age. Let me put it to you that way. They're not terrible people. They're just not her people. She lives in a little small ranch outside of Dallas, and she's a hoot. And I enjoyed seeing her. And then I met some other fun people that I hadn't seen for a long time. And it was so good to be with people again, and feeling the ebb and flow of that place. And I'm not know if I'm going to read at Dolly's or I'm going to read at the wine cellar, but one or the other. And I think I can carve one time out of, because it's not hard to get online and talk with y'all. It's just, what do y'all want to hear? And what y'all want to hear is apparently about crystals. And I'm going to start doing a whole lot more stuff about crystals, because like I said, I really had to take a deep dive and look at it differently to help secure this woman's property. And let's see, what else did I have for note? I will be doing a psychic profile on Thursday, and it's not a reader any of you know. It's an old friend of mine who, when we talk about go find a friend to read with, to learn how to read, she was, as an adult, the person I read with, that she and I learned how to read. I'm going to have her and her sister on. Her sister's also a Reiki master, an herbalist, a trained medical professional who is also retiring from all that and going to go into doing readings. And we're going to talk about how they develop their skills and how their life has developed. And let's see. Okay. That's where I am. I've got to decide about how much time I can commit to doing live readings. Now, the day after I did the live readings, I slept for 8 solid hours that night, and that's better than I'm doing staying here on my own. And today's going to be a lovely day because it started out at 72 this morning. It's going to be 49 this evening. So winter's come. Winter's arrived. And I'm going to a Halloween party on the 30th, and I'm making a rat-shaped cheese ball. And what else have I got going on? Oh, Jeffrey and I are going to be you will be able to see Jeffrey and I continue to do the weeklies, and we're going to tape those all tomorrow for the next 3 months. So it'll be I'll get a good look at it then. One of the things that's happening to me personally is since I was ill in June, I've paid a lot more attention to my chart. And right now I have Mars and Mercury on my ascendant. And Mercury will be exact on my ascendant on the 30th. And from what I can read, and Celtic Seer, you know more about this than I do, that should infuse me with a whole lot of more energy. And it's also involved in that trine that's going on up there that's making everybody loser that knows astrology lose their crap. So anyway, maybe that's what it's, but for me, I need to make some real changes, and I want to make changes that involve you because y'all have been part of my life as of December 11th, 5 years. Some of you have been watching me, I know, because I remember some of your names from that first show. And I want to continue to provide the services that I can provide. But I don't want to. I know that since I started getting into much more of the spiritual realm, at first when I did psychic profiles, my numbers went up. And now my numbers are going back down again. And it's not a numbers game. And I know we're not supposed to worry about that. And it's here for me to give it to each person that needs to hear it. But I just don't want to feel like I'm spinning my wheels. And to some extent, as I go back and I start reteaching you guys what I already taught, and I know there's a whole lot more of you than were there, trust me, in December and January. But I have a feeling the world's changing in some ways, and my sitting here playing card games isn't going to help that. Sometimes I think that card games and just reading for people all the time, I think the readers that do a lot of politics, they're just spinning their wheels. I watch them because they're friends of mine, but they're not saying anything new. And I don't think that's going to happen till next month. So. Yeah, and I'd rather be honest about things than get stressed out about it. But here, where'd you go? Yeah, we just need to quit getting sucked into misinformation. And I have a feeling that's what's been going on. And Mars and Mercury, they are really, I'm at my ascendant's at 27 degrees, and that's where they're sitting right now. And so I'm sitting where the information's getting hit into the universe, universally for everybody. But for me, it's like, yeah, and you chose that to be your ascendant. So, which is how we express ourselves to the outside world. I understand it. If y'all don't come up with something else for me to say, this is going to be the world's shortest Nancy Jean's garden ever. The garden is a place for you to come to plant your seeds to grow. And that's what I want to do. And I want to do it in a way that's sensible and reasonable for you and sensible and reasonable for me. And plus, guys, really understand I am being very, very self-protective right now. And we got some new comments. I'm safe here with the psychics. It's good. Oh, I'll look at that. I will look at this one because I think this is part of the breath of fresh air that we're going to have. Which deck I'm going to use? Wild Reflections. I really like this deck. And I'm going to look and see. And I can't remember what the young upstart's name is, but I'm going to ask if the young upstart's going to win. Boy, is he. Okay. I got two tens on this. I got the 10. This is the Wheel of Fortune. Means things are this way. This is going to cause the Democratic Party to have some real nightmares because it's going to have to decide we need to go out and really talk to people. He has been plagued by the Knight of Pentacles. He's found the money, but it isn't pouring in like it should. His winning is going to be very, very sudden and swift. That's the Chariot. And it's going to be a chance for them to get a chance to look at how to get out of the situation they're in. The Democratic Party's in the situation of it's so afraid to make a move. And one reason I can understand, I see that Trump's pushing everything he can to get people rioting in the streets. That's what he wants. Yeah, Madami. He's showing people how to win. Offer the people what they want, what they need, and let them, and they'll do fine. I always felt like, yeah, this is somebody who can come in and sweep this. And as I understand it, the voting's been so heavy in New York that it's way, way, way beyond what they normally have in early voting. We have voting in Texas right now. We're voting. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read on Alberta, Canada. What's going on with my cousins in Alberta, Canada? What's going on in Alberta, Canada? And here I am doing the one thing I said I wouldn't do. Oh dear, that's not going to work. I have to get a different deck. That just tried to give me the same reading again. Okay, we're going to use the bunnies to look at Alberta. Rose Blue, go to Ballotpedia. If you've got it, you can get it on your phone. I just was there. They have all the amendments. They have clear language, what the amendment really means. And then at the bottom, they have a summary of what are bipartisan, what are being pushed by the Democrats, and what are being pushed by the Republicans. So you should be able to make your own decision up about that. For those of you who don't know, we have Texas has this weird thing. It can't amend the Constitution unless it goes to the people. And we have 17 of them. And they always write them where no means yes and yes means no. So you have to go to something like Ballotpedia or the League of Women Voters to find out what the amendment really says, because whatever it reads like, that's not what it's saying. Okay, Alberta. Oh, you got great cards. You got the Nine of Cups. Some things are going the way you've wanted them to. There's some leadership that's kind of not telling you the truth and you feel like you're being lied to. But the sun is going to make it all shine. And there are people who are going to be large and in charge and take care of things. But they may not be making the most, what appear to be you right now to be the most adult decisions. But overall, I asked, are things going okay for Alberta? And that works out to be a yes. Especially because you had this in the middle, the sun. And let's see. Somebody asked about this one. Okay. Oh, Linda, can I come get some of your quesadillas? Linda's making quesadillas. Okay. We're going to ask if the Dems are going to take the House. I already know the answer to this one. Did anybody else watch? The only piece of news I saw out of all the stuff that's gone on the last few days was I watched Trump walk into the Japanese flag. And the poor prime minister woman is kind of going, what's his problem? Well, they will if they get their act together. They're for sure going to win. But got the Queen of Pentacles. They'll have the money they need. They just need to quit fighting among themselves about who gets what part of what pie. What they ought to have their eye on is the money they need to get there, and then selling a straight message. And this is all people. I mean, these are all personification cards. And then ride in with a good, strong message. Every time I read about the Democratic elections, I keep seeing the Knight of Wands. And if you know about the Knight of Wands, he carries in the message. And I don't know about AOC being speaker. Let's take this one step at a time. Celtic Seer, if you didn't see it, she lives in southern Alberta. Linda Bishop said, if I bring my plate over, I can have some quesadillas. That's lovely. Okay. That's it. No questions? Oh, happy birthday to everybody. Nope. It's happy birthday to everybody. Y'all pop in too quickly. Thank y'all for showing up. And now, if you haven't filled out on the survey, it's still out there. Like I said, I'm going to spend my time this afternoon solidifying some more of the psychic profiles and getting that put together, and then just deciding about going back out and being part of the real world again. And y'all take care. And I will see you Thursday. Oh, we have October 30th, baby. And y'all take care. Bye.